Just a very brief description.
Yep.
I mean, that's just simple.
Folks in our county, the BLM made a request to take 6.2 gallons per second of water out of McElmo Canyon. They own a piece of property in McElmo Canyon that they created a distress sale by making the requirements on the property owner so much about his cattle that they put him out of business. And so then they bought the property that they created a distress sale for, and then because they have that property, they've applied for 6.2 gallons per second of water for that property. Well, someone pointed this out to me. They put it in the smallest, they put that they're going to apply for it in the smallest newspaper in the county. Has a circulation of 5, I think.
Wow.
They put it, no, I'm exaggerating, but it's small. But they put it in there, and someone brought it to my attention. So I went home and got on the old computer, and I filed a formal protest against them acquiring that water. Well, there's another group that I'm friends with. I formed my own group. We're called Water Rights Montezuma, and it consists of me and my wife. But the other group, which is the Southwest Ranchers and Farmers Association, they opposed it as well, and so did our Board of County Commissioners. They opposed the BLM taking this water. Well, we had our first hearing before the water court in Durango, and the judge asked, of course, my good friend, the county commissioner, appeared in the county. Keenan Ertel went. As a matter of fact, we rode our motorcycles over there together. And we made our appearance. And he asked the county under what grounds did they oppose the acquisition of water. And they had their little thing. And then they asked the farmers and ranchers, they said, why do you oppose this? And I had done the research for them so that we could come at them from 3 different angles, and they made their opposition on speculation. Well, the Supreme Court of the state of Colorado has stated on 2 occasions you cannot speculate on water rights. You must have a specific purpose, and in their request, and when we met with their guy from Denver, who was very uncomfortable when I started questioning him with the BLM, I asked him specifically, I said, what do you intend to do with this water? And he said, well, we don't know. Thank you. We may do this, we may do that, we may do something else, we may decide to put in some fruit trees, we may, he went through all this stuff. Well, he stepped over the line, he admitted they were speculating, so it fell right into the other case. So we go through those 2, and then the judge looks at me and he says, do you represent Water Rights Montezuma? And I said, yes, sir, I do. He said, what is your protest of these water rights based on? And I said, the U.S. Constitution and the Constitution of the State of Colorado. Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17 of the U.S. Constitution, called the Enclave Clause, which says you can't own property without the permission of the state legislature. And the Article 16, Section 5 of the Colorado Constitution, it says the water in this state belongs to the people. And he sat there and he went, I'm not sure the Constitution has any bearing in my court.
Whoa.
And I said, with all due respect, Your Honor, what else do you take an oath to? So this is what we're dealing with, and it's ignorance. I don't believe there's any covert, we're going to destroy the people or something. I believe they've just been in the system so long, they're so perverted they don't know the difference. And the beautiful part was we got to question Mr. Smith, Ralph Smith from the BLM. who showed up to try to convince us that we should just let them try the water for 3 months. And so he showed up, and of course the other two groups went through our county commissioners stated their problems with what was happening, and we got some great people in our county, as you do. Chester Tozier, Sheldon Zwicker, they're in that group, and they stated their case, and they said, and they took the cites that I gave them from the Colorado Supreme Court and said, can't speculate on water rights. And he just sat there, this guy from BLM, and I said, how long you been with BLM, sir? 28 years. I said, well, did you take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution? No, I did not. One of his aides sitting over there beside him said, yeah, he did. So then, he said, I did. I said, no, you wouldn't have your job. So he said, oh. And so then he was trying to question me on grounds he had no knowledge on the Constitution. He was trying to question me on this, and he said, what did you say that was again? I said, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 17, the Enclave Clause. And so he gets one of them to hand him one of these. And he's going, what was that again? And I told him, and he's still looking. And he said, well, I can't find it. And I said, what do you have in your hand, sir? The Communist Manifesto? So, I'm not very well liked by these people, and I take great pride in that. Because when a bureaucrat doesn't like me, I'm doing something right. And when I asked him if there's a Communist Manifesto, the whole place broke up. But the thing that you have to understand is, people, and we don't even think of this, there are 10 planks to the Communist Manifesto. 10 planks. There is at least one government agency in this country that protects or defends each plank of the Communist Manifesto. I've written articles on it. I've had those articles out there many times. Every plank of the Communist Manifesto is covered by a U.S. government agency. That we're paying money to protect the Communist Manifesto when we forget our own Constitution. They get uncomfortable and upset when you point this out to them. They don't like it. But and this is the point. If you're going to go out there and you're going to work to getting people, and we got Larry Don elected as an independent, and which was a great boon, because as being one of the few independents in the state of Colorado, they immediately asked him to be on the state commission. And this is not about me. I love my country. I got kids and grandkids that are going to be here. That's what I do this for. It's not for me. And he will get this list of proposals from the state county commissioners thing, and he'll send it to me in an email. And he'll say, let's meet and go through this. I need to know what's constitutional and what's not. He said, I can't make a pitch on this if I don't understand it. Help me understand what's constitutional. Help me what's not in here. And he was there when Udall and Bennett were asked about this PILT.
Payment in lieu of taxes.
Payment in lieu of taxes.
Yeah.
And he asked up front, well, why don't you just give us the land back? If you can't afford us to pay the money, why don't you just give it to us? The state is we can better take care of this than you can. We're here, we live here, we can take care of this. And I was so proud of Larry Don when he did that. So proud of him to be at a forum where he asked two U.S. senators, and he said, they had that deer in the headlights look. He said, they do not comprehend this.
Oh, they fully comprehend it.
But no, I don't think they really comprehend. They have been schooled so many times. And I made the statement to the gentleman here a while ago, and I'm gonna tell you something. We are not going to convert people that are already in office.
That's right.
Because the guy who got elected because he was a good Republican is not going to give a damn about the Constitution. The person who got elected because they were a good Democrat doesn't know there's a Constitution. So there's two of them that you don't have a chance with. They are going to stick with what got them there. Now, our county commissioner, Keenan Ertel, sent Scott Tipton an email and said, all right, before they put the pilt in the agriculture bill, said, okay, just give us our land back. What's your position on that? He won't answer.
Of course he won't.
No.
I've been bugging him that before he got elected.
Well, I'm going to tell you one story about the great congressman, then I'm going to take any questions you got. Veterans mean a lot to me. But I am in a quandary. I have problems about us fighting unconstitutional wars. And the fact that we take an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. As a matter of fact, one of the reasons I don't write for Lou Rockwell anymore is the article that I sent in challenging the oath keepers on supporting the Constitution. It said the majority of your people are members of the military or they are members of the police. And they go fight wars and they arrest people on unconstitutional laws. How can you claim they're supporting the Constitution? Well, I wrote that article, I called it Comfortable Patriotism. Folks, patriotism will never be comfortable. And I said, you have to do something about this. Well, Lou writes me back and he says, hey man, you're getting a little off base here. You're a clarion call for civil disobedience. And I said, what else do you think will work? If we don't stand up and say the emperor's naked, we're really going to have a hard time doing this. This is not going to be easy. Nothing I ever earned in my life was easy. But I cherish it and I love it. So, but this really bothered me because the gentleman I told you about before and his chief of staff, Scott Stripe, who I don't think is there anymore, but he left. I really would like to talk to Scott and find out why he left. But anyway, they contacted me and they said, we've got a Marine in Pueblo and his mother has called our congressional office 3 times. And he has some serious problems. He's threatened suicide. He's threatened a lot of other things. And Scott Stripe and Chris Quintana came to me, and I'd talked with Chris to help him through his PTSD stuff, just like I've done my own son. And they said, will you talk to this guy? I said, sure. Have him call me. So this kid I call him a kid, he was 27. 5 tours. Iraq or Afghanistan. And he called me and he starts talking to me and I said, what's this crap about you wanting to commit suicide? And he said, well, I've thought about it. He said, I really think sometimes that may be the only way. And I said, you ever think about it when you're not drinking? And he said, well, I hadn't thought about that. I said, well, start thinking about it because it'll make a difference. And so then I told him, and I wasn't your social worker. I wasn't easy on him. I told him, Marine, stand up, be a man. Take care of your family. Do what you're supposed to do. Yeah, things happen to you. Things happen to all of us. Stand up and be a man. Do what you're supposed to do. And he said, can I call you whenever these things start bothering me? And I said, you're darn right, you can call me whenever you want to. And my wife can tell you, phone calls 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. This kid crying, wanted to kill himself. Well, then he did mess up and he got a DUI. So Scott Stripe, and he represents Scott Tipton. Now, Scott Tipton never told me any of this, but Scott Stripe represented Scott Tipton. And he said, and I told him, he said, how's it going with Jason? I said, well, he got a DUI. He said, and I said, he's got a court appearance next Monday. And Scott Strike said, will you go to Pueblo and will you talk to the prosecutor and see if we can get this guy in some kind of treatment? And I said, yeah, be happy to. He said, if you would, he said, we'll take care of it. I said, all right. So I left on a Sunday morning, drove to Pueblo from Cortez, went to Jason's house and talked with him. And then I said, I need to talk to your wife. So I went and talked to her. They'd split up because of all this. And I said, I need to talk to your mother. So he took me over to meet his mother. And I didn't make a lot of friends that night because I told his mother and his wife, I said, you're part of his problem, get off his ass. You know, yeah, he's made some mistakes, but he's earned the right to make a few mistakes, but don't stay on him, you're not making it better. And they said, well, will you go to court with us in the morning? I said, that's what I'm here for. So I went in and I talked to the prosecutor and his defense attorney, and I said, I can get this guy in some counseling. Putting him in jail is not the problem. What he did's wrong. Do what you gotta do. But he needs some counseling if he's gonna survive. And he's not gonna be out driving intoxicated again. He said, okay. The prosecutor said, all right, come in, tell the judge. I want you to talk to the judge. So I walked in and I told the judge, and I said, everything he's gone through, I've gone through. I thought the answer to all of my combat-related problems could be found in the bottom of a wild turkey bottle. And I kept looking there for quite some time, and it's not down there, I can tell you. So, but I said, it didn't slow me down any. I still kept looking. I just thought I had the wrong bottle. Let me get this guy in some counseling. And the judge says, and I had already called the VA. And the VA says, we can have that boy on the bus tomorrow, leaving Pueblo, going to Nebraska to our detox center. And I told the judge. The judge told the DA, confirm that, which I have no problem with that. Confirm that he's leaving. And he said, okay, he said, then after that, he said, after we get you dried out, young man, I want you to get some counseling for this post-traumatic stress disorder. And he asked me, he said, do you know where the best place in the country is? And I said, my opinion, sir. He said, where? And I said, right outside of Phoenix, Arizona. They got a great rate of helping people. And he told Jason, he said, all right, young man, I want you to be on that bus tomorrow. He said, I'm going to suspend your sentence. I'm going to put it in abeyance. If you graduate from both of those schools, come back, I'll dismiss this DUI case. He said, I'll sure try. So he sent him off. Jason is now a counselor in that VA school in Arizona. But the part that really bugged me was the fact that when Scott Strike told me, he said, you go, we'll take care of your expenses. Then when I went over, did all that, they said, no, we can't do it. And so a good, and I don't, that money's neither here nor there. It's the principle. And so the funny thing was, is Scott Strike offered to pay me out of his pocket. I said, no, sir. You didn't make the obligation on your part. So a good friend of mine that knows Scott Tipton's wife real well called Scott personally on his cell phone because she had his number and said, why are you not upholding your word on this? Now, this is 2 years ago. Why are you not upholding your word on this? He said, because I didn't promise that. So, if that tells you anything about the character of the man we're dealing with. But again, I didn't do that for money. I didn't go there so that they could give me some money. But the young man made a turnaround. He's back with his family again. They're living right outside of Phoenix. I get a call from him fairly often. But now, That being done, any questions? We're running over time here and it's my fault.
You got today and tomorrow.
Can you come back?